inside the floor. Turn him over again. Booker scoops it up. Booker brings the boom.
Welcome one, welcome all. We have a 5-game NBA slate tonight on this wonderful Thursday where we just had golf kickoff here not too long ago. We've had some MLB games as well, and then we have a small MLB slate tonight. So if you were wanting to play NBA, make sure you get in shortly. There's only about 2,000 spots left in the main $15 contest on DraftKings. They opened up a secondary, but it's a far cry from the 50K to first. The secondary is only 5K to first here tonight. Lots of fun to be had. We got 5 good games, the last one being a 10 o'clock tip. We have 4 starting at 7:30 or earlier. And I just realized I can't count. We have 6 games late. So it should be a ton of fun. We have 5 early games with only 1 late game there, the late game being the best of the bunch. We have a bunch of tanking teams in the mix here. We got the Sixers, the Wizards, the Raptors, all in separate games. And then you can even throw in the Nets there as well, though they have been trying to win a little bit more. So a lot of fun to be had, man. How are you doing tonight? What are you looking forward to here?
Yeah, a lot to be had. There's been tons of stuff going on, golf, MLB, all different stuff. We got NBA tonight. Rubio, I did see the slate, and I'll tell you this. When I saw the slate, I said there are a lot of tanking teams more than my liking on this slate. I am not excited about these teams, but hey, there's money to be won. We'll figure it out. We'll dive in and kind of get it all dialed in. There's definitely some good spots that I think we have to like. I might do a little bit of a tighter player pool today, but I think this is definitely going to be an interesting slate. And, of course, the news is going to be important, right? We talked about it yesterday with that Nuggets news being important. I talked about wanting to just load up on Russell Westbrook, make sure we get those Nuggets on our teams, and we did. Also, Rubio, have you seen on the Hunter Tyson gift, on the Hunter Tyson picture?
That was like a couple weeks ago. I did see that, yes. And Hunter Tyson ended up balling out a little bit yesterday, even though they lost.
We posted it yesterday as well. So
nice.
He was starting. So it definitely got some love in the Discord chat. So if you're not in the Discord chat, what are you doing? You got to get in there and come hang out with us. And, hey, that's where we were able to break down all the news for the Nuggets game to help the members out.
That is fun stuff there. A lot of good stuff here happening in the chat. And we also got Pinking asking a great question, too, just about blowout potential. I would say this, especially on a slate like today. I know those Sims are going to do that really well, too. But it's like almost want to game stack a little bit, right? If we do get some blowouts here, I mean, there is a very, I would almost say even a high likelihood that, you have guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo, I wouldn't Banchero to an extent, Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle and stuff. Though the one good thing about most of these teams that are tanking is that they're at home, right? So maybe you can make the case for a little bit of a closer game. The front office and coaching staff are the ones tanking, right? And that's the one thing that you can kind of mention. The players are out here trying to earn a contract, maybe their next NBA contract. In Quentin Grimes' case, man, he's trying to make himself a lot of money since he's a restricted free agent, I believe. So it's going to be kind of interesting. I think if you're weighing blowout stuff, it's really good to have a run back on a slate like tonight. I think that's like the one thing, man, going like, especially when you look at a Portland-Toronto game, right? Where we're going to have Denny Advia, who we're going to have a lot of fun to talk about here after he's just been a triple-double machine over the latter half of the season. But being able to kind of look at Raptors and maybe run it back. I mean, my problem with the Raptors is they're not afraid to rest guys late in the fourth quarter and stuff if they're playing well. They have been very obvious with their tanking, and since Adam Silver is a spineless commissioner, they're able to get away with it. But really, you have just a bunch of games tonight that are going to kind of fall into this risk. And I feel like every time I pull up an NBA slate, I'm forced to click Banchero or Franz Wagner, and that'll kind of be the case later on tonight. Mangone, I mean, just to kind of touch on a little bit like later on for that 10 o'clock game, LeBron, since kind of returning from his injury, I think, what was that, groin injury, since going against the Pacers and stuff, he's looked pretty bad. Just from an offensive standpoint, I know he had the game winner and stuff too, but his shot rate, his usage rate has just dipped, kind of a little bit. His shooting percentage has dipped. I mean, it's clearly Luka's team, but that last game overall is going to be a little bit of a turnoff for me. What are you looking at these early games, in particular these blowouts? Does that factor into your decision making at all?
Yeah, one thing I'll call out that I think I've noticed on a lot of these slates is I notice I get like one stud just pushed on all my teams because we just have so much value. So Giannis is probably going to be pushed on a lot of teams tonight is my assumption. LeBron, I agree, kind of hasn't looked great. You said it, and I've said it on these shows, like pretty much every slate, it's like you got to consider Franz Wagner or Paolo Banchero because we just get all these values at center and guard, and it pushes up the spend up forwards, right? So it's like, that doesn't surprise me. These guys are getting massive usage, and they're playing a matchup against who? Oh, the Wizards. And I kind of said this yesterday on the show too. I was like, at first I didn't love that Wizards and Kings game, and then as the show developed, I basically said, the Wizards, whenever someone plays them, like there's just winners on the slate, right? Like I'm not saying play at least one of Banchero and Wagner is like the rule tonight, but like I did say yesterday, hey, one of these Kings is going to go off. I don't know if it's Levine, DeRozan, or a Sabonis, and it was DeRozan. He ended up being the best guy. Sabonis was still pretty good. Keegan Murray actually wasn't bad, and it's like you just can't ignore this Washington Wizards matchup. So, and here's another factor too, Rubio. The Magic are actually playing for something, right? The Heat are surging. They're trying to get up to a better playoff spot. Like, I know we haven't gotten this Magic game, but it feels like Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero could be like two of the keys of the slate. Like, I mean, if you were playing two teams tonight, I don't hate the idea of playing Banchero on one and Wagner on the other and kind of moving on. Like, that would not be a bad way to start off the slate.
Yeah, you are right there, Mangone, and it's kind of an interesting point, right? You have the Magic kind of in a very high pace-up spot, right? They go from 28th in the league over the last 7 games, and the Wizards are top 5 in the league, right? You can make the case the Raptors are actually the second fastest team in the league behind the Chicago Bulls over the last 7 games. So a team like the Portland Trailblazers and stuff too also benefit. Portland, surprisingly, is not ranked inside the top 10. I thought they would be actually. Mangone, but this is going to be a pace-up spot for them. I mean, it's going to be a fun one to talk about. We'll go ahead and dive in. We do have an MLB slate later on tonight as well, so we'll go ahead and dive into these games, and we'll go ahead and start with the first 7 o'clock game that we have. It's the Bucks and the Sixers. You're right. The first run through, Mangone, it's a lot of Giannis Antetokounmpo for me. You just look at the raw points that he gives you, right? That's going to be a very popular click for many. I do think he'll kind of breach the 40% mark because there isn't a ton of spend ups, right? Denny Advia is going to be one of my favorite guys, but then you have Banchero, Luka, Giannis, and then you're kind of quickly running out of guys that you really want to click. I mean, Curry can kind of be considered a secondary stud. I know that last game went off for over 80 fantasy points, was just absolutely incredible. But overall, I mean, I don't love a ton of guys around 9K plus. Giannis is going to be that guy. You flip the tables here. You got the Philadelphia 76ers where no one projects well. You do have to make the case for Quentin Grimes just because of what he's able to do. He is trying to earn that next contract as well. He is trying to increase the price on him. But overall, Mangone, it's just not really a team that I really want to target. I mean, if I do, I mean, it would kind of be Grimes, and that's about it. But when I flip over to the Bucks, you can make the case for Giannis. You can make the case for maybe a guy like Kevin Porter Jr., Kuzma, Rollins. I mean, those guys are all kind of in play. What are you doing with this first one here?
Yeah. First game up. Yeah, I'm with you on Giannis, right? Like he's clearly going to be a really good play today. Like there's no reason not to consider him. It's a good spend up. Obviously the debate would be, is it him or is it Luka or like a LeBron? Like I think it's clearly Giannis number 1, and then probably Luka number 2. And then LeBron, I'd rather get the Banchero instead for 200 less. So that's kind of how I would think I'd rank the studs. I might even consider putting Banchero over Luka, as crazy as that sounds, just from a point per dollar perspective, right? Because of how positions work and everything like that. But yeah, so Giannis going to have a lot of ownership for a good reason. Kyle Kuzma is the interesting one to talk about at 6'2". Like, do we think he deserves ownership on this slate? Like, the thing that I struggle with is, like, if this is a tough matchup, I probably wouldn't like Kuzma, but it's the Philadelphia 76ers. Like, this is a spot where I think he could actually do really well, so I'm perfectly fine with him. Obviously, starters, will it be Ryan Rollins? Will it be Kevin Porter Jr.? We also have a questionable tag on AJ Green, which I think that matters a bit, so that's an important piece of news that could easily give a boost to Ryan Rollins and Kevin Porter Jr. Not a huge boost, but it's not nothing if he ends up sitting from this game. And then Brook Lopez, the last guy I'll mention, he has been great ever since the Bobby Portis suspension, and it's an easy matchup. So I don't mind Brook important. Brook Lopez as well. I think he's in the conversation for me today, Ruby. I would not completely ignore him. Probably doesn't project amazing, but I think he's in the conversation as a pivot off of someone like Khalil Ware, who we'll talk about a little bit later. But let's get to the Sixers side of the ball and discuss that, because injuries are important here, right? Yabusele is questionable. I will count the players just because that's how the Philadelphia 76ers experience should go. So it's Quentin Grimes, Edwards, Bona, Butler, Walker, Yabusele, Council, Hood-Schifino, Reese, Philip Weaver, and Dowd. So they're at 11. And if they lose Yabusele, then they're at 10. They're not at 8 or 9 like they've been at in the past. So I think that's kind of worth mentioning. I do like guards against the Bucks. That is one thing I always like to target and attack. Also worth mentioning with this game, like Adam Bona might start, but his price is up to 5.2 now. That is not a discount. So this is not the same 76ers we've been dealing with, but I still like the guards a bit. Like Quentin Grimes, for instance, at 9.1, I still think he is in the conversation. I know it sounds crazy to spend 9.1K for Quentin Grimes, but guards against the Bucks, he's been eating for a while. I'm definitely still intrigued by him, especially with all the value that we'll have at this time of year in April. And then, of course, Lonnie Walker is probably my favorite Sixer, mainly because he's guard and forward eligible, 4.7K. I assume he's starting as well. Now, if he doesn't start, that would change my opinion a little bit. They could start a Ricky Council instead. But I think that's going to hinge on the Yabusele status. And I'm just assuming he does not play just because it seems like they're kind of, mailing it in at the end of the year. So that's kind of my overall thoughts on this game, Rubio. Grimes and Walker seem like the two best options to get to. Some of these guys seem priced up. And then on the Bucks side of the ball, I think it's Giannis number 1, probably Kuzma 2, Lopez 3, and then, of course, you can mix and match those guards that we talked about. But A.J. Green, that's going to be a key piece of information that we're waiting on.
Yeah, I mean, it's also worth noting for the Sixers, Wednesday they had, or Tuesday, April 1st, they had Jeff Doughton Jr. and Jalen Hood-Schifino both inactive. And I don't know how many games they have left on their contract on their two-way deal. So I don't know. I mean, like, there is a chance they go down to 9. There is a chance like that is in play, Mangone. Just because of those two-way deals, you only have a certain amount of games that you can play in the NBA before your contract has to become guaranteed or something like that. I'm not sure exactly on the specifics. Wait, there is. So they have 2 games left for Doughton, 3 games left for Reese, and 5 games left for Hood-Schifino. There it is. That is from Sixers Adam at Sixers Adam on X. It's going to be interesting, right? Just kind of keep an eye on that. I mean, there's a chance that 2 of the 3 sit. Again, that's Alex Reese, Jeff Doughton, and then Jalen Hood-Schifino. Those guys have a limited amount of NBA games left in their two-way deals. With only 5 games, how many games left do the Sixers have? I mean, what is their record?
There's not a lot of games. It's definitely around that 5 to 7 for most teams, and it could even be 4 for some. But yeah, we're definitely getting kind of down to the wire here.
So there's 6 games left in the Sixers season. So Hood-Schifino is going to have to sit for one of those. So yeah, I mean that is just kind of worth to kind of keep track of. If 2 of those 3 are out, I mean, it does kind of makes Grimes a little bit better. But right now, like, Nick Nurse is very capable of just pissing off anyone who plays a Sixer. I think Yabusele sits. He was downgraded. I mean, you go from soreness to a right knee sprain. I think it's just kind of a cape for the, we're not resting him, right? He has an actual injury. But yeah, I think 9 guys are going to be active for the Sixers tonight. It's just about which 9, especially with 6 games left. They're going to be want to be careful on Alex Reese and Jeff Doughton Jr. on what games they'll have him active for, especially if you go later on in the season. There is a chance they're going to have 8 guys active for the last game. I mean, Sixers not really interested outside of maybe Grimes, and then you said it best for the Bucks there. I mean, there are a lot more options available for them for DFS wise rather than the Sixers. Giannis, just raw points wise, if you guaranteed me 60 points, I would consider just bashing him in there because we're going to have a lot of value later on that we'll talk about here shortly.
And Rubio, that's why I like Quentin Grimes, right? Like, yep. my whole point is like, dude, he could be like 8.2K and like just wouldn't matter. Like, salary doesn't. I'm not saying salary doesn't matter because like it does. I get it, but like he's not that hard to fit in there. Listen, if he goes for like 40 to 50, like he could just be like needed on your teams. You know what I mean? I do like other shooting guards, trust me, but also Quentin Grimes is going to be low owned. Like, people see that price and they're like, I don't want to spend that price tag. Sure, I like Shadon Sharp better, but I'm not going to ignore Quentin Grimes in tournaments.
I am with you. Let's go from one tanking team to another. The Washington Wizards taking on the Orlando Magic. Wizards have been a good pace-up spot. Their team total, since you go against the Magic there, is going to be a very large pace-down spot for the Wizards here. Their team total is below 100, it looks, which is brutal for fantasy. When you look at, point per dollar and stuff, especially using the RPS projections, the top guy in this game, though, is Tristan Vukcevic. He projects really well at 4,400. Is center only, though, which is always a slight concern for me when you have a lot of centers that maybe you'll like later on in the games. On this slate, maybe not so much. Vukcevic is still going to be a good click at 4,400 here. A.J. Johnson looked really good in his most previous game as well. I don't mind guys like Bud Carrington and stuff too. I mean, those guys are just fine. When you flip it over to the Orlando Magic side, though, look, Banchero is always going to have upside. Franz Wagner is always going to have a lot of upside as well. Wendell Carter Jr. is okay. I was actually expecting to like the Magic a little bit more, but it turns out it's kind of the other way around here, man. Like, I get a lot of Vukcevic in my first run. I get a decent amount of A.J. Johnson and Carrington. Then on the Magic side, I'm only getting like Banchero, really. I'm getting a lot of him, don't get me wrong, but I'm not really getting much of Franz. I'm not getting much of Wendell Carter Jr. It's just kind of isolated to Banchero only. What do you think?
Yeah, so what's the key reason why the Wizards are popping today rather than yesterday? Well, the key reason is Jordan Poole's out, right? Like, that's a massive amount of usage to go around. So I think that's kind of worth mentioning. I don't know if you had set it up at the top, but I need to make sure it's mentioned just because I think it's like one of the bigger talking points with them. Also, it does help that Rashawn Holmes, he is doubtful, and that is going to help Tristan Vukcevic's role. Now, Vukcevic, the thing about him, or Vukcevic, I'm sure I'm saying it incorrectly one way or the other, but if he randomly starts, which Rubio, I mentioned it because he started this year. I don't know if he's going to start today. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But if he starts, he is clearly going to be a way better play than if he doesn't start, right? Not saying he couldn't be a good play if he's off the bench, but I think that's a really, important point to mention with him because we've seen it a couple times this year. I will say I've definitely been a fan of Alexandre Sarr this year. I don't love this spot for him against Orlando. And center seems kind of like, I shouldn't say loaded, but there's a lot of good plays at center. And I don't need to get the Sarr that much here on this slate. But there is going to be who? Well, no Jordan Poole, so that is going to help the usage for some of these guys. It could help Sarr's usage. I think it's going to help Champagne's usage a little bit at 5.3K. He's obviously someone that we can look at. Carrington, maybe an A.J. Johnson gets the start at the point, and if he does, I know people will gravitate towards him. He is 5'1". He's not really dirt cheap, so I'm not super excited about that. I just haven't been excited about him. And Colby Jones is back. So I don't mind Colby Jones. Obviously, starters are going to be important. The way I kind of rank these guys is, right now I kind of have Vukcevic as number 1, probably followed by Carrington 2, and then a Colby Jones 3, or Champagne 3, and then Colby Jones 4. That's probably my current rankings right now, but I also don't need to load up, I think, on the Wizards. Like, I think they're good plays, but I don't think I need to, jam in 3 or 4. I don't know if you have an opinion on that, and then I can talk about the Magic, but, do we have to go crazy with the Wizards today, I guess is what I'm asking.
No, we don't have to go crazy with the Wizards at all. I mean, I'm not getting a ton of them, and, just when you sort it by ROI using Saber Sims, Contest Sims, I'm not getting, just a ton of them here. Vukcevic is the most popular, A.J. Johnson stuff too, but I think it's going to be a Tristan Vukcevic tonight. I just think at 4,400, we talked about the value that you kind of want. I get a lot of Zach Edey, for example, at 4,500, right? And they kind of project kind of similar using the RPS projections. Edey's going to project a little bit better. But I'm cool with just kind of jamming in Vukcevic stuff. I know that, you're going to have other guys like Drew Timme. This is all in this 4K range, right? But I really like Tristan's upside. His game overall, I mean, he was good in the EuroLeague too and stuff. It's just, it's appealing for DFS purposes. And with Rashawn Holmes being doubtful and stuff too, it's if the minutes are there, especially if you were able to project me, what minutes can we give him? More than 24. If you gave me 28 minutes of Vukcevic, the upside there would probably be arguably better than anyone else in the slate in that 4K range. So I'm going to be high on him. A.J. Johnson looking good last game too, but it is the Magic, right? This is a poor team total. This isn't a team that I just want to bash in completely, man. I'm with you. I almost think you could even do a max 2 if you're building a limited amount of lineups tonight. Just kind of saying I like to let the Sims kind of decide that stuff, but I don't really feel like I have to go overload on the Wizards at all here tonight.
Yeah, it's definitely something I will look at when I run through my Saber Sim stuff. how many of these Wizards am I getting? You know, I might limit some certain stuff, but I mean, there's definitely not bad plays here, right? And of course, I want the Vucevic starting news. Like, I hope he starts at the 4. There's a chance he starts next to Star, but there's a chance he doesn't. So we'll have to see. I did want to touch on the Magic. I think one of the key things to talk about with this Magic team is Cole Anthony is back. So I don't know how much he's actually going to contribute right away. He played 19 minutes last game. I still think it's like wheels up for these, Wagner and Banchero. We still want to load up on these guys. I still think they're good plays. I know they feel expensive at 8-8 and 9-9, but one of these guys is going to have a big game. You know what I mean? Like, it just gets you the raw points, I think, at the forward position. So I'm definitely interested in them. Like, I want to be overweight on both these guys. Can you play them together, Rubio? That's one thing I've been trying to figure out. Like, I've had Saber give me them together, and I've kind of like leaned into it at times, and at times I haven't. So I don't know the right answer, but I guess that's a good question to ask.
I don't like playing them together because it really does feel like it's one or the other almost all the time. So I'm not going to do that, Mangone, at all. But I get it where they're coming from, right? Where you have a healthy team total. If the game were to stay close, they both have the upside. They're both going to dominate the usage. Not my cup of tea, though. I'm not going to be doing that at all. I'll tip my hat if it beats me. It's just you're tying up 19K almost in
I hate starting out the slate, like, and maybe this is wrong, but I hate starting out the slate where I have like 40% of each, and they're on like 80% of my teams. They're on different teams, and I feel like I basically have exposure to like one of them on either. I don't know. Maybe that's like a mental block, but it is something I've been like not enjoying on every slate. It feels like, or at least I've been thinking through: should I do this or should I not do this? You know.
Correct. I hear you there. Let's see. Any parting thoughts? I think we're good on this game. I mean, we talked about it here. Let's go ahead and move on to the 7:30 game here. We get 3 of them. And the first one I want to talk about is the Portland Trailblazers. And I really want to talk about Deni Avdija. Look, he's going to be a little bit popular tonight. I actually think he'll be under-owned. The Raptors have been arguably one of the best spots in DFS for opposing teams. And you also have the Portland Trailblazers, who are no slouch. These injuries for Portland matter a lot, especially if Anthony Simons. I mean, that status is not yet confirmed, right? Like, he is just a true questionable. Let me go ahead and just double check that. Because after missing last game, what did we see? We saw Deni Avdija go off for a triple-double. Simons is just a true questionable. We'll get that news hopefully prior to lock. If he's out, there's a chance I just hit the lock button on Deni. I mean, he loves having this massive role, right? I know Shaedon Sharpe being back too and stuff isn't going to like completely help, but Denny's earning himself. You know, I know that he already had a very team friendly contract and stuff. His previous team, and then he got traded to Portland and stuff. But his game is just incredible. He is a legitimate triple double threat. He also is hunting that triple double. He hunted those for those 10 assists last game, man. In the fourth quarter. I just love his game. I love the spot here. Denny's going to be my favorite play on the entire slate. You also have guys like Klingon are going to be fine. And then we have to kind of, just be careful on the Simons news. If he's out, I do think Sharp becomes a really good play. Delano Banton could even get the start again at 4-3. A lot of stuff to kind of consider here for the Portland Trailblazers. You flip it over to the Raptors side. Orlando Robinson's in that same 4K block of the centers. I get uneasy on Orlando Robinson. He's a summer league hero. He's been a guy that I've played many times. However, I can't trust the situation at all in Toronto. You have Jacoby Walter, Jonathan Magbo, you have Jamal Sheed as well, Jameson Battle. All these guys project for actually 5.4x or more. All 5 are going to be in play tonight. What are you doing here with this Portland game?
Yeah, Portland's definitely Portland's a fun one to talk about here. Also, who is this new guy? Rubio's not a new guy. He's just not on every show. And if you are watching our shows, he's on the NASCAR show, so you'll always see him every single Sunday. You'll never see me in for Rubio on a Sunday. So there you go. All right. You were talking about Portland. Yes, Deni Avdija, one of the best plays of the slate. He has been insane. And I don't see it stopping. You know what I mean? Like, this just seems like someone we roster as the season goes on. I kind of said that with Grimes like a month ago. Like, just keep rostering him. Like, I think I'm just going to continue to do that with Deni. I mean, it seems like you just keep playing him and you just don't care at this point. At least that's how I feel. And it's a good matchup, right? Toronto Raptors. That's definitely a fun spot to target. Injury-wise, Rubio, Anthony Simons is questionable, right? And that's like a really key piece of news that we are waiting on. And if Simons plays, I think he's definitely a good play that you can get to on this slate. Obviously, if he's out, it's going to be a big bump for Denny, I think, gets a big bump. I think you also give a pretty big bump to Shade on Sharp at 7.1K, who I like in this spot. There's obviously no Scoot Henderson, and if a Simons happen to sit, who gets a boost? Revenge game, Delano Banton, right, at 4.4K. I don't think you can completely ignore Banton here in this spot if Simons is out. Like, listen, we have tons of values right now. Banton, I think, would maybe leap to being one of the best values on the entire slate. So don't ignore him. That Simons news is going to be big. He put up 35 fantasy points last game against Atlanta when he got that start. So I'm definitely waiting for that Banton news. That's like slate shifting news. If Banton starts for Simons, listen, just blow up your lineups, fix them, and I'm definitely interested in that. And it's also worth mentioning we might not have that news in time, Rubio, right? It's a 7:30 game. I don't know if we're going to get it in time. Portland's been pretty good about giving out their injuries pretty early, but you just don't know. Another guy who can get a boost is Tomani Kamara. He'll probably get his 30 minutes and be safe at 6.6K. And then Matisse Thybulle, someone that definitely benefited last game. I'm not saying Matisse Thybulle's magically going to be an amazing play today, but if you had a sprinkle of him in your MME formats, I don't think it would be crazy. And, of course, I think that helps with Jeremy Grant being doubtful for this game. And the last guy I'll mention is Donovan Clingan. I'm basically naming the starting five if Simons is out. But, hey, I think that starting five is basically in play. And these Portland guys would be, I mean, some of the better plays on this slate. I think you would have to value some of these mid-tier options. Toronto side of the ball, not a spot that I love to talk about. I haven't liked talking about them for the past, I don't know, like maybe month. But they're missing guys, right? They're missing Grady Dick, Jakob Poeltl, Emmanuel Quickley, and, of course, Brandon Ingram has been out a while. And then Scotty Barnes is sitting with that questionable tag. If Scotty Barnes is out, then there's the debate. Okay, RJ Barrett's the only guy in town. Do we play him at 7.8K? I don't know. Will the minutes be there? It's like, just get your magic 8 ball and, figure it out. It's hard to tell if the minutes are going to be there. He'll probably get between 24 and like 32 minutes. Will that be enough in that time? It could be. It could not be in the matchup against Portland. I would rather look at the cheap options and figure out who is starting. I assume the starters are going to be Orlando Robinson, right? He'll probably be the starting center, 4.3K. We talked about center being a deep position, but he definitely has the ability to be on a tournament winner at 4.3K. So he's definitely in the pool and a very good play on this slate. I think the next two guys you're going to like are Jamal Sheed and Jacoby Walter. Those are going to be big decision points. My lean is Jacoby Walter if I have to pick one. It does help that he has the forward and guard eligibility, but I lean Walter number 1, Orlando Robinson 2, and then Sheed 3. After that, then it gets thinner with Mogbo and Battle. And I just don't – I don't need to have, like, overweight stances on those guys. Those guys are fine, but I think there's just going to be better values, especially if we get more news that comes our way. So those Portland mid-tier guys are going to be great. You brought up really good points about that. And then those are my Toronto rankings, right? It's probably Walter, Robinson, and then Sheed are my 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, it's also interesting, too. I just look at the standings. Look, they're not going to want to win 3 games, and their teams behind them are probably not going to win 3 games. They're kind of in this like weird, sandwich where it doesn't really matter what they do. RJ Barrett played 29 minutes, which was, I think, the highest that he's played like a month or so. And he played 29 minutes while sitting out the last 7 minutes, which with the Raptors, you can sit out the fourth quarter in a close game. They've done that many times before, especially over the last month. However, it is possible that they basically just say, screw it, RJ Barrett, you can go ahead and play 34 minutes or whatever, like he was pacing last game, 35 minutes, and just go out and play some basketball and try and win, right? Like, it doesn't really hurt them if they win or lose. We have such a limited amount of games left that I think the only team that they're kind of near, I mean, the Nets have 25 wins, they have 28, so it's not like the Nets are going to win 3 games to finish out the season and stuff. I think they have to be careful to not hit 31 wins. But really, then you're just starting to break it down. There's a decent chance maybe the Raptors are just playing legit here from now on instead of just a clear, obvious tank. I mean, that's the concern with RJ Barrett, though, is that he is playing well. There have been sports books props where they just pull all the Raptors because they don't know what the coaching staff is going to do. Where, like, you literally will be a half point in the fourth quarter for RJ Barrett, and you can click the over or under, right? It's grayed out, of course, but, like, that's kind of the confidence level that the sports books feel about the Raptors rotation. That kind of illustrates how I feel about the Raptors rotation as well. I think Orlando Robinson's going to be the most popular in terms of, just ownership for me. I think Mogbo is going to be close, and then Walter. I think it's worth noting, like, when you have a 31-5-5, I mean, RJ Barrett could legitimately be the only guy to handle the rock today. He was a triple-double threat early on in the season and stuff. I'm cool with RJ Barrett if I land on him. I get 5% on a 20 max real quick, and the build that I kind of see, man, going, what did I mention earlier? You want to run back some of these spots here, especially with some large spreads. Well, it's a 3-man Portland stack with a 2-man Raptor stack on the way back. I really like that type of build, especially if you can kind of convince me that RJ Barrett could be in line for 32 minutes or so, which, look, 29 minutes last game, had a 31-5-5, sat out the last 7. I can be talked into that. All right, we just got some news as well, didn't we?
We got the Jalen Wilson news, which we'll obviously talk about. I don't know if we got anything else, but that's – I mean, it's not huge news, but it's not nothing, right? That's kind of how I think of it.
Yeah, and it's news that gets us into the next game here, which is the Brooklyn Nets taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is the Timberwolves' first game since the suspensions that occurred to Dante DiVincenzo and Naz Reid. I mean, this is a team here, when you really look at the Brooklyn Nets, Drew Timme is in that 4K block, right, that I mentioned, right? Right now, if you were to look at the 4K centers, it's Edey, it's Timme, it's Orlando Robinson, and it's Vucevic, right? There's a decent chance that many people are going to have 2 of those 4. Timme, being a really good Gonzaga product, he was genuinely surprised to be signed by the Nets here. He's going to be a little bit chalk tonight, too. I mean, he's projecting, for me at least, I think his ownership's a little bit too low on SaberSim as things stand. But I think it'll be up there in like the 15-20% club. You give him a solid projection using the RPS projections as well. D'Angelo Russell is confirmed in. His minutes, I'm not even going to fiddle with, man. Going, like, he had 31 last game. I think was the first time that he clipped 30 minutes in a long time. He had 19 minutes in the game prior to that. I don't know what is the move is with him at all. The upside is kind of there, but this is a defense that they're going against in the Timberwolves that can turn it on and be really effective. They get basically a fully healthy roster. I mean, that's the one thing that you can kind of say about them. With Julius Randle looking decent last game too. You had Anthony Edwards, you had Gobert, who ended up fouling out and stuff. But this is a team that overall isn't going to project really well because they finally have all their bodies back. The suspensions as well to last game, I think, kind of inflated the prices on Randle, on Gobert just slightly too. This is a game where overall, I mean, outside of Drew Timme, like, I don't really have a ton of interest in. What do you think?
Hang on one second. I got a message to add something with the playbook. There's an error. Sorry.
J-Ruff got my South Park edge. Yeah, I love the character Timme. He's actually one of my favorite South Park characters on there. Probably because I can relate. All right, man, I'll continue talking real quick.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm good now. I just had to let him know. I made a mistake on the playbook and deleted something, and he was putting the rankings in, and I wanted him to fix it. So made an error. Okay, back to the Timme point. So that's a good one to start with, Rubio, because I think Timme is probably the most important guy in this game. Would you agree? Is Timme the most important decision?
He is my highest owned from this game, yes.
Okay, is he? Yeah, he's currently your highest owned, which I get. My problem is center is like, I don't know if it's loaded, but it's good today, right? Like that mid tier, they got Ware, who's good, Klingon, Edey, Vucevic, Orlando Robinson, and then Timme. I mean, there's definitely a lot of plays there that you can get to. I definitely struggle with Timme because he's coming off the bench, right? He's not going to be a starter. At least you don't project him as starting today, right? I mean, I think he'll start soon, but not yet, correct?
I wouldn't expect it completely, but those minutes are just so spread out, right? Like there is a chance that, they could just trend up a little bit, right? When you have all these injuries, Jalen Wilson being out too, like it's tough to say, Mangone, right? Like I genuinely don't know what the plan is for some of these teams, especially the ones that are tanking and stuff. He's not going to start like Adam Claxton or anything, but when you play a close game, right, Claxton has 0 foul trouble, and Timme is still getting 21 minutes off the bench, it's worthwhile.
Yeah, and I think he's a really good play. I had him last game, and he was definitely frustrating. I had him the game before, he was good. You just have to ride the volatility of him coming off the bench. And, like, will he get there or will he not? That's kind of like the big debate that you have to have. And you have to be okay to embrace that. My problem is, like, matchup against Minnesota, it's definitely not the easy. That was my worry last time with Timmy. I kind of looked at it and I was like, okay, he's going against Anthony Davis. Like, I'm not saying he'll have AD the whole time, but he'll have Gafford. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to do with Timmy. Again, I think center is really good today. I like him, but I don't want to be loaded up with 60% or 80%. You said he's your highest owned guy, Rubio. And I'll tell you this. It was one of my highest owned guys the other day, and it was one of my worst days of the season. Like, so
in this game specifically, but also worth noting that I think that's because the Sims have him at 2%. I do think it'll be higher than that too. And if it adjusts before lock, I mean, there's a decent chance that instead of him, it's a lot more of Vucevic, a lot more of Orlando Robinson, a lot more of Ware, Edie, right? So it is kind of leveraging that ownership as things stand.
No, I agree. So we have D'Angelo Russell, who will be in the old revenge game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. I don't know if you heard this, but he did a podcast with Kat not too long ago. And he basically said, man, Minnesota just doesn't look right. You know what they're missing? They're missing two guys like us who they had, which is just like, okay, D-Russ, yes, they're missing Kat, but they're not missing you. You're not that good. But I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to show out a little bit. At 6'6", he's fine, but I prefer those Portland mid-tier guys like we discussed. Claxton, I'm not dying to play Nick Claxton. Keon Johnson will likely be a starter along with Watford. So I think the starting five will be Russell, Claxton, Keon, Watford, and then they'll probably mix in a Tyrese Martin, I would assume. That's probably the next guy. And then the bench guys will be Timmy, Lewis, Whitehead, Beekman, and whoever else they want to mix in, match in there. I don't know, Rubio. I'm just going to be a little cautious with Timmy. I know you're getting a lot because of the 2% stuff, but I'm going to be a little cautious with him. I just don't want my whole night to fall apart if it doesn't end up working out. Minnesota. Keep in mind, Minnesota doesn't play at this like super fast pace, right? This isn't the Atlanta Hawks. This isn't a team that we're just going to have a ton of fantasy points per minute against. Julius Randle, 7.8K. That seems pricey to me for this spot. I know he's been playing really good basketball. I just don't know if I can get there. I won't take him out of the pool, but I'd much rather get the other studs that we said at the forward position. Rudy Gobert, 6'8". I don't love that there. I know Naz Reid, he is back from suspension, correct? He was suspended against I think he was suspended in the Nuggets game. So he'll be back to kind of mess up the situation a little bit. I know Mike Conley's been playing better basketball for Mike Conley. If you want to play a condom play, it's going to get you 25 for 4.2. It's not terrible, but I don't think it's the right slate to do it. I'll say that. I don't think there's that much upside. So all in all, Rubio, I want to be under on the Minnesota Timberwolves. You could make a case for an Edwards to be an interesting low-owned stud, but I think I'd rather use my salary elsewhere. And then Timmy and Russell are the two I'm looking at. And again, I want to be a little cautious with Timmy. I'm not trying to have 40 or 50% of them. But yeah, that's kind of my breakdown. I think overall, Rubio, I'm going to be lower on this game. And I think that makes a lot of sense with some of the other games that we've had and that we're going to get to.
Yeah, so real quick, one thing that I want to mention too, I mean, with Jalen Wilson out, do you expect it's going to be Trendon Watford to step in then at 5,200? I mean, if his projection kind of trends up, I mean, there could be minutes there that are kind of extra for Drew Timmy, right? Like when you really look at it too, I'm just trying to think of a case for Watford and Timmy. I know both coming off the bench in recent games, right? Especially the game against Dallas is the one that we can kind of look at. Is that who steps in for the starting lineup? Right.
I think it's Watford, especially with like the way the Timberwolves play basketball. Right, they're playing with bigs. They're putting Julius Randle at the 4. Like they're going to match with Watford.
He's like in previous games. I mean, it would have been like Noah Clowney, right? He's out, right? Cam Johnson, he's out, right? Like Cam Johnson's regular starter and stuff. But like, I mean, you look at it. One thing that I just kind of want to break down. I mean, that could Timmy play next to Claxton? I think that's.
Do you think, and this is sorry to cut you off, but this is exactly what you're saying. You're saying that the 48 minutes at the 5 and the 48 minutes at the 4, all those minutes, which is, I'm struggling with math, but I think it's 96 minutes, those are going to be consumed by only 3 guys. Is that your thought process?
No, I mean, I would think like you would have a guy like Tosan or Maxwell Lewis and stuff too. But like, I do think the 2 center minutes will be split up by Timmy and Claxton. And there's a chance that Timmy could share minutes with Claxton on the court too. Is that likely? I don't know, but it should be a case in point for like guys like Watford and Timmy. I think they have more upside than I think is going to be represented. I do think there is a chance that there's a minutes bump for Watford might start and his minutes will already be bumped up and stuff, but Timmy could play next to Claxton a lot, and all of a sudden you have an elite play at 4,100. So I don't know. I think you want to grasp the unknown a little bit and kind of fiddle with it. But if Timmy did get 28 minutes and stuff instead of 24, like, yeah, that'd be incredible.
Yeah, I'm with you, Rubio. I mean, again, I don't think Timmy's bad. I definitely am being cautious because it burned me the other day when he was absolutely terrible. And like, I remember staring at the ownership and I was like, I have so much of him and I hate this matchup against AD. And it's like, it's not like I love the matchup against Gobert. I know it's the same thing's not going to happen this slate, but that's just all I'm getting at. I think center's got a lot of good plays. I will say on another site, not our sponsor, DraftKings. DraftKings is our sponsor site, but on a site where he's power forward eligible, I think he's a little bit of a better play. Just center's got a lot of good plays. I don't know. I mean, I think that mid-tier's got some good ones, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. Definitely keep an eye for the starters there. We did just get word that Rashawn Holmes confirmed out. So, yeah, that was doubtful. So, yeah, it should have been nice to get that confirmed at least very early, an hour and a half before tip. All right, man, going. Grizzlies, Miami Heat. This Grizzlies team lost 2 in a row. They fired Jenkins. I don't know. Like, a lot of weirdness with that team overall. You got Brandon Clark out. You got Vince Williams out. But, I don't know. Right? I sit here and I'm staring at Zach Edey. What's making his projections so elite, man?
I know the answer. You don't know the answer?
I want to hear your answer because you look at the 32 minutes last game and stuff. Now, can I guess the answer? What you're going to say?
You can guess it. I have the answer.
Oh, you have. All right, if you have the complete answer, I don't want to look like an idiot. I did that.
No, I want you to guess. It's okay if you don't.
Taylor Jenkins getting fired. They're told to play Edey more. I don't know.
I mean, I kind of think that's part of it. It's just a new coach, right? So when a new coach comes through, that changes the situation. One of the guys on Twitter, we've had him on podcast before on our site, Winky Christ. He said Zach Edey in 3 games under Tomas Lizal. They're 0-3, by the way. Good job, Grizzlies. 0-3. But he got 10 points, 16 rebounds in 32 minutes. One game was 4 points, 2 rebounds in 13 minutes. The other one was 14 points, 11 rebounds in 27 minutes. Has 11 double-doubles on the season. 2 of them have come in the last 3 games. Touched 26 minutes 11 times this season. 2 of them have come in the last 3. Point being is a matchup against Bam Adebayo, it's not an easy one. But they need his size, right? Like, it makes sense. Sure, if the Miami Heat get up 20-5 to start the game, yes, they might not play Edey as much because they need more small ball lineups to shoot the 3. Totally get that. We're not talking about outlier scenarios. We're just talking about, hey, we think Zach Edey's going to play more minutes because why? They need his size. They play Khalil Ware and they play Bam Adebayo. It makes too much sense. Zach Edey's going to get minutes. I think he's a good play. I know the matchup is not the easiest, but I like Zach Edey, and I do think it's not a bad spot for Jaren Jackson Jr. And again, the price is really good on Zach Edey, right? It's dirt cheap. I kind of feel confident this price on Zach Edey is going to get up to 5.5K soon if they continue to play him like this. And so 4.5K, I'm interested in him. I think he's a really good play at the center position. So like him in this spot. I do like the Jaren Jackson Jr., though. I think he's another guy that I have a little bit of interest in. And another guy that I've noticed has been really good is Ja Morant. I mean, he's been really good in March, and some of the reasoning why Ja Morant has been so good is there were guys out. But he has still been pretty successful lately with the new coach. So I'll pull up the game log just to kind of break it down. Against the Warriors, he had 22 shots. Boston, he had 20 shots. I mean, he's getting 20-plus shots a game, and he typically does get, around that 20-ish range. He averaged that in March. But if you look, in February, he averaged 18 shots. In January, he averaged 15 shots a game. And I know some of that is a little skewed. January was 15 shots as well. I know some of that's skewed for the March data with guys being injured. But from that Celtics and Warriors game and Lakers, he got 20, 23, and 22 shots. I think the shot attempts are back for Ja Morant. I do not think we're going to see the January and February 15-ish numbers. I think what we've seen in March is real, and you're just seeing Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. just take a little bit more of a backseat to those shots. I think that's some of the reason why the coach got fired. I mean, Ja Morant had that phantom injury, and then boom, the coach got fired. I don't know what's going on there, but when there's smoke, there's fire. I think Ja Morant is a really, really interesting tournament play. If we look at his ownership today, Rubio, I am seeing him at and I got to fix my Saber Sim, at 13%. I think that's worth taking stabs at. So he's my favorite stud on the Memphis side. Then I like Zach Edey a lot. And, of course, I like Jaren Jackson Jr. I don't mind Santi Aldama for cheap. Miami side of the ball. Got to make a decision here. One, do you think Davion Mitchell starts, Rubio? That's the first question I'll ask you before I dive deeper into Miami.
I think Davion Mitchell should. I mean, when you look at I think he brings a great dynamic with Tyler Hero. Like, I genuinely like
I agree.
And they've been, I mean, the Heat have been really, really rough. So, I mean, I also, when you have guys like Duncan Robinson, Haywood Highsmith questionable, the Wiggins situation, being out for extended amount of time, right? Is he out for the year? It's, I don't know. You talk about two teams that are kind of smoking a little bit. I mean, it was Spoelstra, though. I have full confidence that he will kind of get back to where they will be, especially by the time of next season and stuff. But I do like the Davion Mitchell piece, especially someone being on ball, can take the best ball handler to let Hero rest on defense. I would hope that he would start. And, with the projection at, 24, he's projected for 5X right now. I think that's safe. But Hero and Bam did really well against the Wizards. So, yeah, I would hope it's Davion.
Yeah, and even if he doesn't start, I think he closes, right? Like, I think they know that they want to lean into him. I think he's a solid value today. I wish he had shooting guard eligibility, only point guard eligible. Between Bam and Tyler Hero, my lean is Tyler Hero. Not a strong lean. Like I said, I like other studs better. I do think when I, finish out my rankings on all these guys, I mean, Miami guys are fine, but, do I like those Orlando guys a little bit better? Probably. Memphis, also, I'm not impressed with Memphis's defense. Let me go back and read you off how they've been defensively lately. And, hey, when you play Zach Edey more minutes, it's easy to cook you in the pick and roll. But Lakers put up 134 points. Celtics, 117. Warriors put up 134. And, Memphis is playing to win basketball games. Their defense is bad. It just seems like a pretty good track meet kind of game where the Miami Heat get a little bit of pace up. So I like Hero, Bam, and Ware. They're in the conversation. It's going to be tough to decipher, what to do with all the other studs, like I said, with the Bancheros and the Franz Wagners, but I'm not ignoring those guys or Xing them from the pool. I think they're definitely really good plays. So that's my overall takeaway from this game. The last thing I'll ask you, Rubio, is do you agree on my John Morant point? Does he seem like a buy low spot where he's going to be 8K by the end of the season because they're going to be pushing pretty hard and he's going to be playing well?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think you take the alphas in that sense. My impression of John Morant has been really poor. Every time I watched him, he sucks. He's taken a step back this year, and I'm glad that he's kind of rebounding here shortly. But those middle months were terrible, and I hope that the sustained success here in March and April kind of continues into the playoffs. Hoping that they can kind of maintain the play-in spot here. I mean, if they can get that 6th seed potentially, I mean, then you would have one of the Warriors or Timberwolves fall in. This is a very important game for the Grizzlies. I just his efficiency was really poor. I compared him to a rich man's Kevin Porter Jr., which at the time was not a compliment, but maybe it's gotten more of a compliment in recent months. But I think you're right. 9.1. I mean, it's a brutal matchup going on the road against the Heat and stuff, but I'm still going to kind of sell on him. You can take my John Morant.
That's fine. I mean, I'm gonna buy a little bit. I told myself lastly, and I was well overweight, and he did pretty good, and I'm gonna ride the John Morant train, I guess, for the end of the season.
Especially after the league bailed him after firing a fake gun at the other team. It was fun. But yeah, I mean that's my take on Ja. I mean, you make a good point too on Edey. I'm looking down at the stats and stuff too. 32 and 27 minutes. The upside is there for Edey. You also have bust potential. Look at the game against the Celtics. The Celtics are arguably the worst team for Edey to play against because what do? Well, they shoot the most threes in the league, right? They shoot almost. It's an absurd amount of threes. I was looking at this the other day, and Denver was sitting at 32, and then you look at just the gap between first and last in the league, and the Celtics being able to shoot all those threes. It's a terrible spot for Edey. He's not able to be out in the court, so you can make the case that against the Heat, a team that doesn't shoot as many threes, a team that will have maybe one of Ware and Bam on the court who they're okay shooters, right? Ware, not kind of iffy, but Bam can definitely stretch it out just a tad, but. I don't know. I think this is a good spot for Edey the more I look. However, there is a floor to him. There is a chance that he only plays a limited amount of minutes. His double-double odds on DraftKings Sportsbooks, which is very intriguing to me because I was just kind of looking at this man going, it's actually really solid.
What are they?
So if you did 10 rebounds and 10 points, you would actually get guess it real quick. I just want to because like the projection almost seems like he's projected for a double.
Are you getting 4-1?
No, not 4-1. It's plus 176. Like
okay.
Yeah, you almost getting almost a plus 200 for a double on Zach Edey with boards and rebounds there. I mean, I'd almost play that game a little bit more and then kind of go under on DFS because there is centers in this area, but the upside is going to be there. I definitely don't want to be lost in the sauce.
Well, that's a fair point. Like he's owned today, right? Like he's 40%. So like I get that if you want to think about that angle, like if you want to be overweight on him and double the field, you're gonna have to play like 80% of him. And like, do you want to do that? I don't know, right? It's definitely a debate that you're gonna have to have with yourself when making a decision on Zach Edey. But I do think his role seems pretty secure here, and I think everything we're seeing makes a lot of sense, and it makes it seem like he's gonna be a buy. That's all.
Also, do you want to know like the grimiest thing? This one made me mad too because like you can get they stopped letting you parlay 10 rebounds and 10 plus assists on the DraftKings Sportsbook because they found out that people were getting way better odds than their just traditional triple-double prop. And it never lets me do it anymore. It never lets me do a 10 and 10. I have to go like 11 or 11 assists or rebounds on a guy to get those odds.
That makes sense. You found a system to beat, and they're trying to make sure.
It goes from like they were offering like Bam Adebayo 18-1, and then you did like a 10, 10, and 10 for him, and it turns out to be like 35-1. Here's some news that also matters. You said it earlier. AJ Green in, so that'll kind of the wing minutes. Duncan Robinson available to play. Giannis Antetokounmpo available to play. So yeah, good news to get here now. Memphis Doug saying smash Edey. I mean, yes, I'm with you. Obviously, I have Memphis in the name and stuff, but
I'm telling you, Memphis Doug. You don't have to tell me. You do not have to tell me what you think unless you can. But just tell me if I was right. I think I was right. I think my analysis on the John Morant and Edey stuff. I think it was very accurate on what's going on in Memphis. That's all I'm saying. It's one of those like blink twice if I'm right. Just type something in the chat to let me know.
All right, I love it. Last game of the day, Warriors, Lakers. How many more times will we get to see Curry and LeBron on the court together? I think LeBron gives it another go for next season, but we'll find out. This could be one of the last times that you see it overall. LeBron, ever since returning from the groin injury, has been not great. Did have the tip-in winner against the Pacers, though, which bought him some time. Curry going absolutely nuclear last game as well. Mangone, what are you doing with this one, right? I look at it on paper. We have 0 guys who project really well, right? I think LeBron actually projects as the top point per dollar, which I think is being too kind. Luka, not projected for a ton of ownership, right? You might get him at under 20% in this game because 12K is a lot to pay for a point guard only, I should say. Yeah, I mean, this one confuses me. I don't love it. I mean, there's a decent chance that you could just fade this entirely. Austin Reeves is going to project for 1% ownership. He's 8,800 as well. Like, look, there's just not a whole lot of people to click on here. What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm sort of with you. This is a tough game to kind of figure out. He also said that you were right about Ja dealing with stuff. Were you talking about like what crazy stuff was he dealing with? You talking about like all the past gun stuff or something else? Did I miss that?
In January and February, his efficiency was really, really bad. I don't know what the crazy stuff was or anything like that, but it was getting to a point where like they were almost better. You also look at it where in previous years when Tyus Jones was the backup point guard and stuff, they would always play well without Ja. So like you kind of had this sense of maybe Ja isn't as good as the people think, right? Especially with like I think his efficiency back in January and February was absolutely awful. Like I'd keep betting him for like 20 plus points and he'd have 22 shots and not get there. So it's like one of those things where as long as the efficiency turns around, like they'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, Memphis Doug said he'll talk in the Discord chat. So if you want that juicy stuff, RPS 15 get you 15% off. But all right, last game review. Which we're doing good on time. We've been on for 54 minutes, so we'll hit that solid hour and then we'll get on out of here. But Luka's definitely in play, right? Like I don't want to say Luka's not in play. LeBron's in play. I mean, just you have the salary to play guys, but I'm definitely going to be lower on these guys today. Like I like the Giannis's, the Bancheros, all these other guys that we talked about. Smith just told me Scotty Barnes is in, so I won't kill the messenger, but I hate that news. All right, Jimmy Butler. I don't love the spot for Jimmy at 8.5. There's other studs I'd rather get to. Curry too, like off the monster game, I'm not dying to get the Curry. His ownership is going to be like 7%. So if you want a low owned guy, you can. But like I talked about liking Ja in the similar range and Hero, and it's like I just can't like allocate to every single player, right? So it's like I probably just won't get a lot of him. I don't mind Draymond if you need like a power forward in the mid tier. I said I like those Portland guys more, but Draymond in this kind of game, and he loves to show out against LeBron, right? He loves LeBron. We know the love he's got for him. I think Draymond's not a bad play, especially if you're going to get that like playoff type game in the Draymond minutes. If you're going to get a playoff atmosphere game, that's when you want to invest in Draymond Green. So in tournaments, I do not mind him. And I think that's it, Rubio. It's like, I'm down for Draymond. I'm down for Luka. If I happen to get some LeBron James, like it's not the worst thing, but I'd rather more Banchero and these other guys we've talked about at forward. But yeah, I think it's mainly Draymond Green in this game.
It's almost like DraftKings is protecting themselves of LeBron or Luka being out because this Austin Reeves price makes no sense, right? Like, so you have like 1/3 of the Lakers that you definitely can't click today. And that Austin Reeves is one of those. I love Austin Reeves. I love playing Austin Reeves too. Like, it's like one of those guys where he's always been a triple-double threat when Luka or LeBron are out, right? But like they price him at 9K and it's like almost an impossible click for me. Then I look at LeBron's recent performances and it's just not great. Like I do think this is where I'm gonna go ahead and say it. The Lakers are a super team as things stand. All right, that's my bold decree, man. Going, I love the Lakers roster, right? But there's also this soothing period that they're having to do on the fly. They didn't have anything come in right where with a full off season and say, here are our guys, Luka, Reeves, and LeBron. I think Reeves is the best third option in the league. Right, that's my big take on Reeves. So they're figuring it out right now. And what that is, LeBron's taking a little bit of a backseat. Efficiency since the groin injury also dipping a little bit. But Luka also being the alpha and not being 100% in basketball shape, right? And people can say what they want about him being lazy and stuff. He had a major knee injury, right? Like, yeah, genuinely, like, he is still getting his feet under him. All right. So when you look at the numbers here, he's been very, very poor for Luka's standards, right? Which is still averaging 30 a game, 8 boards and 8 assists. But his like efficiency just has not been elite from the floor, right? And he's not getting to the line as much where it's like, you know, you're going to see that kind of develop over here, right? And I think that just kind of kills all the other Lakers. And when Luka is taking such a massive, you know, role in the offense, you're not paying 5.5K for catch and shoot Rui. You're not going to see the Dorian Finney-Smith nuke that you saw last game where he gets like 50 fantasy points or whatever, which is absolutely absurd. All catch and shoot in the corner. But what you did see, though, Mangon, was Jackson Hayes' minutes completely trending down, and they do want this small ball lineup to work. So you're going to see a lot of LeBron, Rui, Dorian Finney-Smith, along with Reeves and Luka, and Gabe Vincent kind of acting as the de facto, you know, sixth man. I mean, you can make the case to Dorian Finney-Smith here, but like this Lakers team, when they go small, is going to be really interesting. And also, I mean, you know, since we have a little bit of time, LeBron playing the center role was able to shut down Cat in their most recent game against the Knicks, which was a couple weeks ago. I want to say it was like 2.5, 3 weeks ago. That was impressive. And like when LeBron wants to lock in defensively, he can. And I do think you're going to see a lot of small ball five there. And they could use this game as a test run. You know why, Mango? This could very easily be a round one match. Very easily. It could be the 3-6 spot. So I don't. You could also see JJ Redick try and keep things, you know, within the sleeves and stuff. But this is an important game in the West. You know, with the Lakers only being one game up in the loss column over the Nuggets, there's a chance they could fall to the 4 spot tonight with a loss. I do think they hold the tiebreaker over them, but they'd be a half game out. But yeah, I mean, very important game overall. Warrior side of the ball. Curry can be splashed in a little bit. I do like your Draymond take. This is the type of game to kind of play him in. Both teams with very healthy team totals should see a lot of Draymond small ball tonight as well to kind of match that Dorian Finney-Smith lineup. Looking forward to this one, though, from a basketball standpoint. As far as DFS Classic main slate, not at all.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, this is definitely one, like, when the DFS night's over, I might want to, like, sit on the couch and just, like, throw it on and, like, you know, just enjoy a basketball game. Like, it's one of those games that I can enjoy and probably not even have money on, as crazy as that sounds. But yeah, I'm with you on all that. And Rubio, you took a very long time to just say that the Lakers are a super team, and mainly because it's Austin Reeves is the pivotal piece. And I agree. Like, I'm with you. Like, I think this team is, like, kind of in that super team type territory. They got a bunch of bums around them. And we'll see if they can make it work. I think they are live to win a championship. I don't know if they will. I don't feel confident they will, but I'm just saying I think they're live, right? If I had to pick like a handful of teams that got a chance, I think they got a chance.
I'll say this right now: the Lakers sitting in the 3 spot is where they want to be, right? You get the Rockets in round 2. All right, you get to play. I mean, you would have a very tough first round matchup no matter what. But you could make the case that not the Nuggets, the Rockets are the weakest team in the playoffs in the Western Conference. And that's no disrespect to the Rockets at all, but they're a very young team. They haven't been here really at that level before. Fred VanVleet having a ring and stuff, I think will help bring some composure to them. But like Jalen Green and Amen Thompson and Fred VanVleet and Alperen Sengun is not going to beat the Los Angeles Lakers with Luka, LeBron, and Reeves. I think Reeves, I think in the playoffs here, I think he'll average a 25, 5 and 5, just because they'll be so glued to Luka or LeBron, and Reeves will be able to get the worst defender in every single game. And I think that's going to be one of the most interesting subplots for the entire season, especially when the playoffs come around, which I'm very excited about the playoffs for DFS point of view. Like, as far as classic slates go right now, not great, but as far as playoffs go, I think there's going to be a lot of strategy here with this Western Conference.
It's a good spot to be in. I will say, Rubio, listen, Rockets have been playing good basketball. Don't sleep on the Clippers or Timberwolves to upset them if they're in that 7 spot. Like, I mean, they're not going to have an easy first round matchup. I mean, for the most part in the West, no matchup seems like it's ideal. It's more about trying to maybe set up that better second round matchup or whatever. But it's all about matchups, and we'll see how the chips fall.
So I'll say this, Travis Poole, I'll say this. The Rockets haven't been here before, right? That matters, especially when you're going against arguably 8 of the 10 best teams in the league, as I do think that the 8 of the 10 best teams are in the Western Conference. And that's me thinking that the Knicks are a little bit underwhelming right now. I'm really disappointed in Cat overall. I think Cat needs to turn up for these playoffs, and he hasn't done it in the past and stuff. So I do think, you can still be a very good team in the Western Conference, but still be the worst of the best, which is the 10th best team in the league, which is fine. But when they haven't been here before, they're still a year or 2 away. All right, man, going plays of the day. I got mine. It's going to be a little bit chalky, but I'll let you kind of get settled in. I'll go ahead and get mine here real quick. No matter what, who's in, who's out, it's Denny Advia's time. He is wanting to just kind of dominate the offense at 8,600. I'm hoping that Simons does miss. But overall, I just look at what he's able to do on any given night. Denny Advia has been a triple-double machine. You saw it last game, too. He is hunting these triple-doubles as well. He was about 4 assists away going into that fourth quarter last game, still ended up with a 32, 15, and 10. You look at previous games as well, 33, 7, and 4. This is a pace-up spot. It's arguably the top 2 pace-up spot. Yeah, there's top 2 in the league over the last 7 games. The Raptors have been one of the highest-paced teams in the league. I think Denny Advia goes off tonight, and at 8,600, I will not be shy in jamming him in here. Who's your play of the day?
This is tough because yesterday I gave out Westbrook, right? And I was like, he's not on now, and I know he'll be on later, but we're planning for it. I don't care. I'm planning for it. Do you think Simons is out, Rubio? Because that's the one I'm trying to struggle with here. I don't know if he's in or out.
I think it's a true toss-up. So I hope he's out just because I'm going to have a ton of Advia, but I genuinely don't think I can guess. I think we'll get that news about 30 minutes before lock, hopefully.
I know. I like one of these Portland guys. I like Banton. I like Sharp. So I've been going back and forth between Sharp and Banton. So, it contradicts your Denny play, though, which I like Denny, too. That's the other problem. So
don't forget, my favorite lineup that I saw on the Saber Sim in the Sims was a 3-2 stack where you played RJ Barrett as your low-owned guy for the Raptors. You hope the game explodes and stays close. And again, RJ Barrett, you could argue would have been my sub 5% play if I had to go there, but 29 minutes, sat out the last 7 minutes of the last game in a blowout. If you did want to game stack this one, I think it's the one to do it on.
Okay, I'm going to go with Shade on Sharp then. Let's go safe with Shade on Sharp. Obviously, Banton will be a great play if Simons gets ruled out, but I'm going to go with Shade on Sharp at 7.1K. I like him a ton. I just think he gets a huge boost if Simons is out, and he's still a good play if Simons is in. So Shade on Sharp will be my play of the day. Rubio, can we give the Adam Bona thoughts? Someone wants Adam Bona takes. I gave them earlier, and my take was pretty quick. It was, he is 5'2" now. He is not really cheap, and I just kind of prefer other options, and this is not a great matchup, and center's deep, so I do not want Adam Bona, but what about you?
It depends. So Yabusele being out would be huge, right? But also, like, what if there was a situation where Alex Reese was also not playing? Was he the one with 3 games left on his 2-way contract, right? They have 6 games left. I do think if Yabusele misses, then Reese would be active. But if there is a chance, I think Bona's fine as is, but I think there's better center options below him. If Reese and Yabusele are both sitting, I think Bona does become a little bit of a better play and could be in line for, what is his projected minutes right now, man? When we look at Sabersim right now, they project his minutes at around 28. If they were to both sit, you can make the case for 34, right? Like if you can make the case for a small increase, 32, 34 minutes, then he could be very much in play.
Yeah, that's fair, Rubio. I'm probably not going to do it, but like I need the news to fall my way to do it. That's kind of my point, Rubio. Like I need the news to fall a certain way, and then I'll pull the trigger. But that's going to be important to me, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. We also got some bad news for the RJ Barrett stacks is that Scotty Barnes isn't. But yeah. I think it does hurt RJ Barrett. It does hurt RJ Barrett's upside a little bit. He can be the main ball handler and stuff whenever he's out there, but he was also very good with Scotty Barnes in early on in the year, right? Like that's something that I don't want to just completely dismiss, but yeah, I do think it does put me off RJ Barrett just a little bit. I'm curious to see what the Raptors do minutes-wise because they are really in the middle of no man's land. They can't really catch anyone. They can't be caught by anyone with their tanking, so they could just be rolling it with maybe some main minutes, like main workload for a guy like RJ Barrett here. But yeah, it does hurt him.
Yeah, I don't disagree with what you're saying, Rubio, but I hate the Raptors, and I don't know what to do with them ever. And I always say to JSU when I've been doing these shows, I say, JSU, you tell me what to do with the Raptors because I have no idea. So maybe I'll just listen to what you say with the Raptors and call it a day.
Yep, I like it, and we'll have those takes maybe in the chat a little bit later on. I do want to address this. I'm not 5'5". I am taller than JSU. I don't know who said it. Who said it, man? Go.
I don't know who said it, but you are taller than. I think you're taller than me too, right? You're a little bit taller.
Yeah,
but
we're the 5'8" bros. Yeah, we're not tall. Yeah, but 5'8", 5'9". Yeah, but yeah, this will be a solid 5'12". We appreciate you guys for watching. Have a great rest of y'all's day. We hope that we see RPS logos at the top later on tonight. We'll have a full MLB slate tomorrow as well. Should be a ton of fun. There's been a lot of success. Code RPS15. 15% off your first purchase here at Run Pure Sports. Don't be afraid to use it. Get in. We have the Final Four this weekend as well. You can get Boynton's content here. And I know last year's championship game was an absolute printer, Mangone. I think I had the winner in that one in the main site. I think it was a nice little chop, but we had Edie in that game. And we're about a year removed from that. It's time to jam Edie in tonight. Have a great rest of y'all's day, and bye-bye.